Trump's FDA pick thinks marijuana is a gateway drug that causes heart and mental health problems. Gag me with a fucking spoon. Okay, this guy's name is Marty Makary. He's a surgeon, okay, a medical commentator, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. But I am assuming he's either a medical doctor or a DO, and he's got a physician's and surgeon's license. So you assume this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. And here's some of the things that he's advancing. He's a medical marijuana skeptic, promoting claims that cannabis use is linked to cardiovascular issues and mental health problems for youth. He has also suggested that marijuana is a gateway drug. Old tropes. Okay? He's claiming that marijuana today is roughly 20 times more potent than the weed I started smoking 50 plus years ago. I don't buy it, but now it sells in somebody's social media. Now, he's saying that some studies have found that among teenagers who use marijuana, the risk of a psychosis diagnosis later in life goes way up, as many as 25% of people who consume. Bullshit. 25% of people who smoke pot are going to go on to develop psychosis diagnosis. Stop it. Okay? If we're going to be objective, he says, we need to stop saying that marijuana is harmless and not a gateway drug. The truth is that the available evidence does not support those opinions. I beg to differ, but I'll move on. He also says that cannabis may also affect intelligence, citing a study tying marijuana use to declines in verbal IQ and executive function tasks such as trial and error learning and conditional association learning. Again, bullshit. In February, Makary shared a social media post about a study linking daily cannabis use to increased risk of cardiovascular issues. Again, issues, commenting that it's one of many such studies reaching the same conclusion and that weed is not as safe as people think. Okay. Now, finally, with Makary signaling opposition to marijuana and pro-legalization former Rep. Matt Gaetz being replaced by, Pam Bundy, who opposed the legalization in Florida as Trump's choice for the new DOJ, prospects of a revolutionary approach to marijuana under Trump administration have become all more uncertain. Okay, let me get on my high horse about this kind of bullshit because I've been dealing with it. I've been butting heads with physicians. I'm out against marijuana for at least a quarter of a century now. Now, yesterday I did some research just to see some of the things that I remember dealing with are still out there appropriate. And I went to the NIH, NHTSA, found studies from Boston University, the Mayo Clinic. And here's some of the realities of weed and the realities of other drugs and alcohol. Alcohol-related deaths each year are 178,000, which is 3,400 plus a week die from alcohol. Okay? 250 people die each week from crash deaths from alcohol consumption. 480,000 people a year die from tobacco. That's 9,200 a week. 9,200 people a week die from smoking tobacco. Okay. 97,000 plus thousand people die of a drug overdose every year. That's 1,800 a week. In 2022, people who got legal prescriptions for drugs overdosed and died, 14,000 of them, 282 a week. Now, the NIH, and this is on their webpage, you can read these studies. NIH says cannabis use is not associated with increased mortality. Okay? So this is the scientists and physicians in the federal government say, no, it doesn't increase your risk of dying. Stop it. 50 years ago, Normal put $100,000 on the table if you could prove to a reasonable medical certainty that a cancer was caused by smoking weed. As far as I know, the money is still there. No one's ever proven that smoking weed caused a single cancer. Now, the old trope that it's associated with psychosis, we can go back to the Indian Hemp Commission in the 1890s. They went to insane asylums and found hash eaters there. Okay, they didn't think it was a huge problem, as they didn't see that it was increasing, other mental diseases. But some people have dissociative diseases that is correlated to cannabis use. This is an old one. I've been in a lot of pissing matches with psychiatrists trying to tell me that, smoking weed causes addiction. I remember asking this one psychiatrist who claimed, I treat cannabis, addicts all the time. I asked her, how many don't come from the criminal justice system? And she about shit herself because she didn't have any. They all came from the criminal justice system. How many are not white? Again, shit herself. Well, they're all white. This was in like Moraga over in the Bay Area. And this woman had to admit that she doesn't get a single one unless they're in trouble. And some DA or judge says, if you go to, cannabis addiction treatment, mommy and daddy pay for it, we'll defer entrance of judgment. And Omar knows this stuff. Well, it won't hit your record if you go in and see this nice, pretty psychiatrist who tells you you're a marijuana addict and mommy and daddy pay for it. Black kids in the ghetto weren't getting any such breaks, okay? So now I then went and looked up the percentage of people who first use a substance that go on to be addicted or get a substance abuse disorder, okay? So from the first time you smoke a cigarette, 67.5% of people go on to be addicted to nicotine. For alcohol, it's 22.7%. If you take your first drink, 22.7% are going to go on to be alcoholics. For Coke, it's 20.9. For weed, it's 8.9%. Still very low. It is an issue that needs some attention. But overall, the picture that this guy's painting is, to put it bluntly, bullshit. And it's a trope we continue to hear and see. It's not backed by science, but human beings have this sort of weird anomaly that they love to believe shit that's just provably not true, okay? Talk about flat earthers, people who denied Trump lost the election in 2020, and religion's a classic example. And if you dare to question people's beliefs, my mommy taught me this, therefore it's got to be true, they don't listen to you, and then they get angry, and men will start a fight with you, okay? Something you got to deal with. So a week ago, I was hopeful. Man, we got Gates. He wants to promote legalization. Hillis is a Republican that recognizes, we got this huge black market. We got to be more realistic and pragmatic about this. Now we've got Bondi is going to be the AG. This guy's going to head FDA. And I already see the rescheduling hearings being a train wreck, okay? And I want this descheduled. Get it clear the hell out of Controlled Substances Act, and maybe you can have THC like we have Marinol in some medicines, but get it out of there. Leave it alone. I don't see that as a realistic possibility right now. Kennedy may step up and do something because he thinks it's stupid to have this. We need psychedelics out there to treat. We're seeing some of the psychedelic market now being kind of tumbled around with, we don't want to do this. We don't have enough studies. Well, we don't have enough studies any of this shit because the DEA never allowed it. Okay. How can you cite studies that the government never allowed and say, well, we don't have enough evidence, so therefore we don't want to promote it? Just remember, there's a well-established black market out there. I'm a realist and I'm a pragmatist. If you try to squeeze on the prohibition bubble, it's going to poke out someplace else, and around the corner, a guy's going to sell you a bag of weed or a vape cart. It's time to get our head out of our ass. But I'm not real hopeful now that we're going to see serious changes in the way cannabis is looked at right now. I'm just not real hopeful. So I'm going to throw this back at you for your comments. I'll get off my high horse here and let's talk about this.
Dale, as you dismount, is that what they call the hokey pokey and turn yourself around?
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. Turn yourself around. Mm-hmm. I had to go to square dancing classes in junior high school. Made me vomit, but hey, you had to do it because the girls were cute.
I used to have, we had to do that too, square dancing class in junior high school. I remember that during gym.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I got caught in a riot one time in a square dance. My cousins took me to the barrio to put on a square dance, and they were upset when the essays there were going, what the fuck are you guys doing here? And the fight broke out. Mm-hmm. 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 Wonderful story of square dancing. Kind of sticks in my craw.
Gotta love it, right?
I might be square dancing tonight, actually.
You're going square dancing today? I can believe that.
Yeah, we're taking my parents and my brother's in-laws. We're taking them to a honky tonk down here in Austin. So we'll see what happens.
Oh,
I need
boy.
video of this.
Yeah. We want to see this. That's for sure.
Okay. Shit, I'll go get my cowboy hat right now.
I want to see that bolo tie on you.
Yeah.
You keep telling us
I got one. I got one that's it's a 6-shooter bolo tie.
Mm-hmm. I will say that some of the picks are a little bit not as exciting. But I'm excited to see Matt Gaetz as a special counsel, and I think that is gonna just really shake things up.
What prosecutorial experience does Matt Gaetz have to qualify him to be a special counsel? He
has major prosecutorial experience, bro. He's a lawyer.
Investigations that gives him some prosecutorial.
No, we're talking about not being the subject of an investigation, actually carrying out the prosecution.
Oh boy, here we go with the leftiness. Here we go.
No, but really, like, what was that answer, Jason? It was like, oh, he's got the biggest prosecutorial experience of anybody.
I'll put it to you like this, and I'm going to use a quote from Tucker Carlson, okay? Carlson, yeah, you're going to love this. Tucker Carlson said, Matt Gaetz is the most talented member on Capitol Hill, and I totally agree with that.
Talented at what?
Talented at everything that he does. Talented at everything that he does. That's my guy. Yes. Shout out to Matt Gaetz.
The most talented brown noser.
Stop the cap.
Isn't this another example of the human willingness to believe shit that's demonstrably not true?
I mean, oh boy, here
Jason
we go.
felt the need to prove your point for you, Dale.
Yeah. You guys are so funny.
I've been an attorney since the Reagan administration, and I don't think I'm qualified to be the AG. Okay? Kind of an crusty old fart, but I've got lots of trial experience, and I don't think I could do that because I never run a big agency before.
I think he could, and I have heard some people criticize in that remarks and say that the largest staff that he's staffed has run is his staff, congressional staff. And then I saw someone say a similar thing about Pam Bondi, but Pam Bondi was the AG in Florida, and she's going to be directing a similar sized staff as far as the people that she's actually going to interact with as AG, because you just mainly deal with the different U.S. attorneys across the country.
I mean,
to be fair, when John Kennedy appointed his brother Bobby Kennedy as AG, the same complaints were made because he had not tried cases. He'd never really practiced law. So, I mean, this is not brand new. But, if you're trying to pick someone to actually run the department, we should look at the deputy they appoint because they're the ones that effectively run it. The figureheads are the figureheads. They don't, they're out there to, in this case, maybe an anarchist or a nihilist or something for the DOJ. The real person that's going to be running it is the deputy.
I will say this too in regards with your story, Dale. I do think that this guy needs to evolve on his policies, because one of the big problems that we have with people that will be affected by his decision making process is people that are going to be getting transplants and whatnot. And I know from some friends that have had transplants that they have had to quit cannabis prior to being eligible to even qualify for a transplant. And so I do want to see some movement on this, and hopefully we'll get some overarching change as Kennedy, as the director of HHS. He will steer these guys in line.
Well, hopefully.
This is a legitimate question. Do you actually think he's going to get confirmed for that position?
Here's the whole thing. I don't care if these people get confirmed or not, because the reality of it is that confirmations can take up to 2 years to go through the process. And once Trump is sworn in, those are the acting people in charge. So whether or not people want to confirm him or not, I don't really give a shit.
You okay, Jason?
Some people will, though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't care if they get confirmed or not, and I don't care if people say that they won't get confirmed, because those is Trump picks, and people they're going to be there in that position. There, you know what I'm saying? And if we have to drag out the confirmations because they won't get confirmed, then we'll do that. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, and there will also be recess appointments.
Yep.
I think. And so there's going to be all these interim appointments and then recess appointments if can get away with it. But the fact is, we're going to have people who are eminently unqualified, whose only qualification is to break government and break things, running the levers of government. And maybe that's not a bad thing when it comes to U.S. Department of Justice's prohibition on cannabis and war on drugs, and having people who are incompetent running this show. It's fantastic when this show is about oppressing people and putting them in cages for the use of substances that are in many occasions less harmful than the legal substances, alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah.
Why should cannabis be prohibited at all? And so I do think that having incompetence in charge, there can be a plus side to it, but at the same time, it keeps us from making the honest reforms that are needed. We need to deschedule cannabis at the federal level. We need to re-legalize cannabis. That's what Jack Herrera always said. You know, for most of human history, cannabis has been a lawful substance, and it's been able to supplement our human nutrition. And I do think that we would all be better off if cannabis was more broadly available, not just for intoxication consumption, but as a nutritional, as a nutraceutical. And so, you know, my take on all this is like, maybe it's good to have people who running the show who don't know what they're doing when it comes to implementing the drug war.
Oh, that's good. A fantastic point there, Omar. And on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.